Welcome back to The Mind, a podcast series by the Ramakrishna Vedanta Centre, New Zealand. A conversation at the meeting point of modern science and the contemplative traditions of yoga and Vedanta. I'm Rama, your host. In the room as always, Swamiji and three companions, Sarah, a parent, James, a teacher, and Kai, our resident skeptic. So far, we've gone inward and downward to the still, living ground of awareness. Today, we turn around and follow that aliveness outward into the actual world you live in, the body, the room, the people, the past you carry, the future you dread. How does one undivided awareness come to look like a million separate things? And why do the past and the future have such power to wound? How the one becomes the many. Let's join them. The same room, early evening. Sarah seems lighter. Kai is turning his phone over in his hand, not looking at it.
Last week I gave each of you something to try. Sarah, the guilt-free rest.
I took 10 minutes with tea and did nothing. The guilt showed up immediately. You should be doing something. But I told myself what you said. This is the tide that makes the next wave. And by the end, I was steadier. I did the evening better.
Mine was finding the ground for one breath while staying in the room. Wednesday, the class was unravelling. I felt myself tighten, and instead of clamping down, I took one breath and felt the steady bit underneath. I didn't leave the chaos. I just stopped being only the chaos. It worked better than my usual sharp voice.
I sat in the quiet for 60 seconds before grabbing my phone. First 20 seconds were horrible. Then it was fine. Actually kind of nice. The quiet wasn't empty. It was just unfamiliar, like you said.
Each of you found the ground holding steady underneath the movement of an ordinary day. Now we do the opposite journey. We've been going in, toward the still ground. Today we follow the aliveness out, into the whole moving world. Because the same reality that is still and deep also expresses itself as everything you meet. And understanding how it does that turns out to matter enormously for two very common kinds of pain: the past that haunts and the future that frightens.
Here's where I get suspicious again. I've heard spiritual people say the world is an illusion. That sounds like a cop-out, like nothing matters, suffering's not real, just rise above it.
I'm glad you raised it, because that translation has done real harm, and this course flatly rejects it. There's an old word for the principle by which the one reality appears as the many things, Maya, and it's usually mistranslated as illusion. But it does not mean the world is fake or that your pain isn't real. Your joy is felt. Your pain is felt. Actions have consequences. Relationships matter. None of that is being waved away. Maya means something subtler. The world is not what it first appears to be. Distinctions are real, but they're not ultimate. Let me show you with light. You've all seen white light pass through a prism and fan out into a rainbow. Are the colors real?
Yes, you can see them, name them, they're distinct.
Distinct. Real. Each with its own character. But are they separate from the light? Is the red a different substance that arrived from somewhere else?
Nah, it's all the one light, just spread out, articulated.
That's the whole teaching in one image, the colors of the light articulated. And remember the ocean from last week, every wave distinct, every wave still the ocean taking shape. In exactly that way, one living awareness appears as knower and known, self and world, you and me, this thought and that feeling. Each is real. Each has its own character. None is a separate substance floating free. Difference does not require separation. The one genuinely appears as many, without ever stopping being one.
So the error isn't seeing differences, the error is thinking the differences go all the way down.
Precisely, James. And that single error causes an astonishing amount of suffering. Because differentiation has two sides. One side is useful, life depends on it. You must tell food from poison, your child from another's, health from illness, one task from the next. Without working distinctions, you couldn't function for a minute. But watch what happens when a working distinction hardens into an absolute wall. Sarah, you start life not knowing who you are. Then, bit by bit, I am this body. I am my name. I am a mother. I am my job. Each of those was useful once. But what happens when I am this body hardens into I am only this body?
Then aging and illness become terror and, oh. I am a mother hardening into I am only a mother. That's why my whole sense of worth rises and falls on how my kids are doing.
You've seen it exactly. The useful label became a prison wall. And it happens with experience, too. A passing mood read as my whole life. One failure read as my final identity. A single conflict read as we are total enemies. A diagnosis read as who I am. In every case, something contextual, true in this moment, this circumstance, gets mistaken for something absolute. That mistaking is what bondage actually is. Not the difference itself, the forgetting of the unity within the difference. And the work isn't to wipe out distinctions, which would leave you unable to live. It's to undo the forgetting.
So the one appears as many. But the world I live in isn't just many things. It's organized. Things have places. Events have an order. One thing causes another.
A precise observation and exactly the next step. Bare difference isn't yet a livable world. To get the world you actually inhabit, the differentiating power works through three great structuring conditions. Space, so things can be here and there, have form and distance, many things at once without collapsing into one. Time, so there's before and after, sequence, change, memory, anticipation. And causation, so events link, so one thing leads to another and the world hangs together as a process rather than random fragments. Space, time, causation. The scaffolding that turns a field of differences into the ordered world you wake up in.
Okay, but those feel like the most fixed, absolute things there are. Space is just space. Time just ticks.
That's exactly what everyone assumed, until physics looked closely. Here's a convergence I think you'll enjoy, Kai. For most of history, space and time were taken as fixed, absolute containers. Then Einstein showed they're nothing of the kind. Space can contract, time can dilate. Two events that are simultaneous for me can be sequential for you. There is no universal now ticking for everyone. The space and time of ordinary life turn out to be relational, conditioned, not the fixed bedrock of reality. The contemplatives said the same thing from the inside, long before. Space, time, and causation belong to the expressed world, the flow, not to the deepest ground of what you are. Two completely different methods, the same conclusion.
So these structures are real and necessary, but they're not the final truth of me.
That's the key. Real, indispensable for living, and yet not the prison walls they appear to be. Hold that, because it's about to become very practical. The most painful uses of time, especially, are about to come into focus. Sarah, you mentioned worry that runs ahead of you. Kai, you've described low evenings replaying old failures. I want to show you what's actually happening, because it's not what it feels like. Let me ask, when you remember something painful from years ago, do you think you're playing back an exact recording?
I assume so. It feels like fact.
Here's what neuroscience finds. Memory is not a recording you retrieve. Every time you remember, you rebuild the event, filling gaps, coloring it with your current mood. And remembering the past and imagining the future use almost the same brain machinery. When you picture next week, you're not reading a fixed file. You're generating a simulation out of bits of the past. So the past and the future you live with are not arriving from then or later. They are being constructed right now, in present awareness.
That's a genuinely strange thought. The past is happening now?
The experience of it is, yes, and this is the hinge for two of the most common forms of suffering. Depression very often is a mind stuck in a past rebuilt by low mood, a version that magnifies loss and failure and quietly edits out every bit of growth and resilience. The depressed person isn't suffering from their actual past, they're suffering from a present moment reconstruction of it, painted by a brain in a particular state. The haunting past is being built right now.
And anxiety?
Anxiety is the mirror image in the future direction. A mind gripped by an imagined future treated as if it were already real and already here. The anxious person isn't suffering from what will actually happen, most of which never does. They're suffering from a simulation their brain is running. The frightening future is being generated right now. In both cases, a present moment construction, part of the flow, is being mistaken for solid, ultimate reality.
I want to be careful this doesn't sound dismissive. It's all in your head, get over it.
Thank you, James. It's the opposite of dismissive. The suffering is completely real because the construction is really happening and the brain is really responding to it. What changes is that you now see what kind of thing it is, and that makes it workable. The past that haunts you is a construction, not an immovable fact. The future that frightens you is a simulation, not an established event. And both are appearing in an awareness that is itself neither past nor future, the still ground you've been meeting all along. When a worried or grieving mind begins, even faintly, to feel time as something arising within awareness rather than as the walls of a cell, perspective and resilience start to return. That's not a trick. It's what contemplative practice has trained for millennia, and what Module 5 will train in you.
So step back far enough and there's a pattern to this whole module, isn't there? The still ground and this whole moving, built world.
You've put your finger on the spine of the entire course, Kai. Two faces of one reality. The ground, the still, luminous, living awareness you met in the earlier lessons, and the flow, this differentiating, structuring, time-building dynamism we followed today. Not two separate realities, one consciousness energy, seen from two sides. Brahman and Shakti in one vocabulary. Prakasha and Vimersha in another. Stillness and movement, ground and flow. Same architecture, many names. You'll meet it again, in technical dress, later in the course. For now it's enough that you've felt the pair. A 1-minute inquiry into time, then a version for each of you. Gently, no forcing. For everyone, catch the construction. Once or twice this week, when the past or the future weighs on you, pause. Bring the troubling memory to mind and notice, I am building this right now. Then bring the worry to mind and notice, I am generating this right now. Don't try to make either go away. Just notice that the awareness they're appearing in is here, now, and is itself neither past nor future. Sarah, when worry about your daughter races ahead, name it once, softly. This is a simulation my mind is running now. And feel your feet on the floor for one breath. See whether that loosens its grip even slightly.
Name the future as a simulation. Come back to now. I can do that.
James, watch for a hardened label this week, in yourself or a student. This child is a troublemaker. I am bad at this. Catch it and add one word, right now, in this situation. Notice how the wall turns back into a workable distinction.
Turn the absolute back into the contextual. Good. I do that labeling constantly.
And Kai, next low evening, when an old failure replays, try noticing, this is a version my mind is building tonight, in this mood, not the whole truth of what happened. You don't have to argue with it. Just see that it's being assembled now.
Treat the replay as tonight's edit, not the original footage. Alright, that one actually helps.
Notice what you find. No grading. We'll begin next time, the last of this first module, by drawing all the threads together.
And that's where we'll pause. The one becomes the many not by shattering into fragments, but the way white light fans into a rainbow. The colors are distinct and real, yet never separate from the single light. The world is not unreal. It is simply not what it first appears. Its distinctions real, but not ultimate. Next time we gather the whole of this first module together and arrive at the threshold of becoming a person. And to go further with today's conversation, the full lesson 1.5 is available in the course Beginners, Conversations on the Mind in the Light of Modern and Spiritual Sciences on the Ramakrishna Vedanta Center's website, www.vedanta.nz. It is also available as an app on Google Play and the Apple App Store by searching for Vedanta NZ. Until then, be gentle with your mind.